Will any movies make $1 billion at the box office this summer? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another tier list video. So this is serving as a companion to a video that I released a few days ago where I ranked upcoming summer movies based on my excitement. Well, today, I'm talking about if any of them have a chance to make $1 billion at the box office or not. Earlier in the year, I made a video talking about 2024 movies as a whole, and my predictions have been decent so far, but now that we have a few months to evaluate what the box office has been like this year, I'm reevaluating a lot of these films in the summer movie season, the peak movie-going season of any year. Before I get into this, though, be sure to hit that like button and comment down below what summer movie you think could make $1 billion or more. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. And of course, if you want to watch movies and TV shows with me, you can do so on my Patreon link down below. I'm currently watching Fallout for the first time. I just finished a Stranger Things rewatch, and I'm doing movie commentary tracks as well. For $5 a month, you can make a difference in my life and content creation journey. Your support over there really does mean the world. Without further ado, let's dive into this tier list. All right, so the tiers I have are high chance that it'll make $1 billion. It's definitely possible, maybe, unlikely, and no shot. And I have some of the biggest releases coming out this summer to talk about. None of the smaller horror films that were on my other list, just because those honestly have no shot. But starting off, we've got the Garfield movie. This comes out Memorial Day weekend. You've got Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, and Garfield is an iconic character over the years. I would say maybe this could make $1 billion. We haven't had a big kids film come out this year except for Kung Fu Panda 4, but this one is going to be catered clearly to the younger audiences. It's Memorial Day weekend, so families might want to go out and see a film in theaters. The Garfield movie, maybe. Anything's possible, and if you look at Chris Pratt's voice work, Super Mario Bros. Movie did $1 billion. I don't think anyone really thought that was going to be as big of a hit as it was. People thought for sure Nintendo Mario is going to make money worldwide, but it was a smash hit. Anything is possible when Chris Pratt's voicing an animated character, so I'm going to say maybe. Moving on, though, we've got The Crow. I'm going to say this has no shot. It's a remake of the film from the 90s that I still haven't seen. It looks based on that marketing, and there's a lot of negativity surrounding it on film Twitter and just the social media sphere in general, so I'm going to say this movie has no shot to make $1 billion. Moving on, though, we've got Bad Boys for Life, which I'm also going to throw in that maybe tier. I'm actually going to put it above the Garfield movie just because it's a Bad Boys film. The third one, I want to say, which came out in 2020, like right before the pandemic, still made lots of money, and I believe was like the highest grossing film of that year. I could be off there, but Bad Boys Ride or Die. You never know. There could be a market for this. It comes out in June. It's got the action. This has a built-in audience. I would say maybe, but I feel like this movie's ceiling is somewhere around $500 to $600 million range, but maybe it does $1 billion. You never know what could really strike with the audiences. Moving on, we've got Kraven the Hunter. I'm going to put this in unlikely. You've got Aaron Taylor Johnson in the lead role, and Marvel's attached to it, so it's got to have at least a 10% chance with Marvel involved. But then you do some research and you go, oh, it's another one of those Sony Spider-Man villain spin-off films. Very unlikely. You look at the success of Madam Web, or lack thereof, it's probably going to follow suit. The same applies to something like Morbius. Venom 1 and 2 have really been the only box office successes of these spin-off Spidey villain movies, so I'd say this one's probably going to be yet another dumpster fire, but hey, you never know. It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's pretty easy on the eyes, if you will. Moving on, we've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm going to say it's definitely possible this movie could crack the $1 billion mark because Dawn of the Planet of the Apes grossed over $700 million, and the other two films were in the high $300 to $400 million range. This franchise has its audience. We haven't had an Apes film since 2017. It's coming out in May. It could be sort of a warm-up into summer movie season. They've been doing some really great marketing for this film, too. There was like a subway station over in the UK that was designed to look like something from this movie, so they're getting immersive and creative with the marketing. Again, we haven't had an Apes film in years, and they can really play into the fact that, hey, it is technically set within the same timeline as the trilogy, which was a box office smash hit, but also critically acclaimed. It's definitely possible, though I don't think it's going to happen. Moving on, we've got Twisters. I'm going to say maybe, at the top of maybe, because of Glenn Powell. The man seemingly is a box office darling. He was in Anyone But You, which surprised at the box office, and of course, he had a role in Top Gun Maverick, which was one of the top 15 highest grossing movies ever made. This is a remake, reboot sequel to the original Twister, which I've actually never seen, but I plan to watch it before this movie comes out. I would say maybe. Anything's possible. It's got a July release date. It's a disaster movie. it could be a surprise hit of the summer for sure. Moving on though, we've got Alien Romulus. I'm gonna say this is unlikely. I'm gonna put it at the back of unlikely, just because I don't know if Alien still has the same draw that it once did, say, when the second film came out in the 1980s. I like that they're going more small scale with this. It seems like they're going back to the roots of the franchise with sort of one location horror mixed with some of the action of Aliens, the sequel, but in reality, it's unlikely this movie will make $1 billion, but it's not a movie that's designed to, and that's totally fine. They've decreased the budget for the better. I think this movie's gonna land with fans and be really effective as a sort of small-scale horror film as opposed to this big action spectacle. And I think it'll make its money back for sure and be a hit, but just not a $1 billion club film. Moving on, we've got If, which stands for Imaginary Friend. This is John Krasinski's film that he directed. It's him and Steve Carell teaming up. You got Ryan Reynolds as the lead role. It's a movie about imaginary friends. It's catered to the kid audiences. It's sandwiched between Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Furiosa. No shot this movie makes $1 billion. I'll put it at the top just because it does have, you know, more of an appeal than something like The Crow, because this could land with families across the US or the world, but I just think this is probably going to be a box office flop, because if families are looking at summer movies, they're going to say, I'm going to see the new Pixar movie, I'm going to see the new Illumination movie. What is this If movie? I'll just wait for streaming, I'll just wait for Netflix, I'll just wait to rent this. You know, I don't think this one is designed for box office success. It could be a hit if it went straight to streaming, but I think this movie has no shot to make $1 billion. Moving on though, we've got Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I'm gonna say top of unlikely for this, because if you look at the gross of Fury Road, which this is a spin-off to technically, Fury Road didn't even crack $400 million. So I would say it's unlikely that this spin-off does that number. I would say it does 300 million tops, but based on the budget, that could still be a success for it. I think this movie's gonna be on par with Fury Road visually speaking, but I don't think it's gonna be as good, and I'm not even a fan of Fury Road. I'm not really looking forward to this one, very much in the minority on that, I am fully aware, but it's highly unlikely this movie cracks the $1 billion club. Moving on, we've got The Fall Guy. This is the new David Leitch film starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. That alone has it in the maybe tier. I'm gonna put it right here, probably behind Bad Boys and Twisters, because it is a standalone film. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt starred in 2 of the highest grossing films of last year, so obviously there is a shot on that hand, but on the other, I look at Bullet Train, which starred Brad Pitt. It didn't even crack $1 billion, so I would say this movie can be a hit, but $1 billion is probably too far out of reach. But maybe, you never know. I'm actually going to move it right behind Garfield just because that animated family-friendly appeal might be more widespread than The Fall Guy. But I am really pumped for The Fall Guy. I'm actually seeing that movie next week and cannot wait. Next we've got Borderlands, which is a video game film, and people are saying it looks like James Gunn directed this movie. It looks like AI version of Guardians of the Galaxy, and sure, I guess that's maybe a fair comparison, but it kind of irritates me in the same way because I think Guardians is a splendid movie. This looks like it has the potential to be great, but also it's hard to say. It could be a total flop, both at the box office and just in general. I'm gonna say it's unlikely this film makes $1 billion. I'm gonna put it actually at the back of that tier right now. It comes out in August. People are starting to go back to school. It could be one of those situations where it just gets forgotten and then people rediscover it like months later on streaming and are like, why didn't this movie make money? It's probably because no one went and saw it in theaters, but I would say it's unlikely Borderlands does well at the box office. Moving on though, we've got the movie that's going to be the king of the box office this year, Deadpool and Wolverine. High chance this makes $1 billion. It's the first one to crack into that tier. I think this will be probably the only $1 billion film of the year. It's the only MCU movie coming out this year, and they've gone all in on that marketing. The newest trailer, which I have a reaction for, I'll link up above, blew me away. I mean, I have not been able to stop watching it. In the moment, I was just soaking it in, and I've probably rewatched that trailer, no lie, 20 times. Not even exaggerating, 20 times since it came out. It's the most anticipated film of the year. Hugh Jackman's coming out of retirement in the role. You've got Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool for the first time since 2018. Cameos galore are gonna happen, and once that gets out and word of mouth spreads, people are gonna wanna go see this movie. But also, it is the next MCU event film. It's a No Way Home. It's an Avengers Endgame. People are going to want to experience this in the theaters with that community aspect so that they can have a memory that they will cherish forever when it comes to moviegoing in the MCU. There is a high chance, I would almost guarantee, that this film makes $1 billion at the box office. And the next movie, Inside Out 2 from Disney and Pixar, I'm gonna say it's definitely possible. In fact, I'm actually gonna go, you know what? Let's do it. I'm putting it in high chance right behind Deadpool and Wolverine. Inside Out made $858 million worldwide, and it was an original property at the time. People have been able to watch that film for almost 10 years now, show it to their kids, show it to their family members, and it's almost become one of the top dog Pixar films. Like consensus, it is a top 10 Pixar movie. The sequel could outgross it easily. I would say there's a high chance this could make $1 billion. I would say Deadpool and Wolverine has the better shot of the two, but Inside Out 2 will do numbers. It will be a success for Pixar. They've had a stretch of original films underperforming at the box office, but then I look at something like Elemental, which started slow but had long legs, ended up being highly profitable for Pixar. Inside Out 2, I think, is poised for success, which is why I think it has a high chance to make $1 billion, even though it could definitely be in that it's definitely possible tier. It's Pixar, it's a sequel to one of their most successful films. It's gotta have a high chance in my mind. Moving on though, we've got A Quiet Place Day 1. I'm gonna say maybe. I'm gonna put it at the back of maybe. The other two Quiet Place films made around high $300 million to high $200 million, so this is probably gonna cap out around $400 to $450 million worldwide. But even then, I think there's just that dark horse shot this movie could somehow get there. Now, honestly, it's not going to make $1 billion, but it could end up being the highest grossing Quiet Place film, so I'm going to put it in the maybe tier, even though a lot of the films in maybe, I think their ceilings are like $700 million. And the last movie on this list is Despicable Me 4. The Minions movies and the Despicable Me films are beasts at the box office. Many of them have done $900 million plus, with some of them joining the $1 billion club. Because of that, Despicable Me 4 is going in high chance, and it's going above Inside Out 2. The Minions have power. You go back to the summer of 2022, Minions: The Rise of Gru was one of the highest grossing films that year and damn near cracked into the $1 billion club. There's a Minions cult. People go crazy for these yellow things. I watched Despicable Me 1 and 2 in theaters and have not watched a film since then. Maybe I'll do some catching up before that. But Despicable Me 4 has a very high chance. It comes out around the 4th of July. There's not a lot of competition until like July 19th, I want to say. It could dominate the box office in July and end up being the highest grossing film of the year. Hell, it could maybe even take the crown from Deadpool and Wolverine. Power of the Minions is real. Do not underestimate it. But that does it for my tier list ranking of all these summer movies, the biggest ones coming out, based on if I think they will make $1 billion or not. So far, the biggest hitters at the box office this year have been movies like Godzilla, X, Kong, and Dune Part 2. I think with summer movie season quickly approaching, we're gonna have some movies rise above the others in terms of racking it up at the worldwide level. But what do you guys think? Will any of these movies join the $1 billion club this year? Let me know in the comments down below, and of course hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot, and stay tuned for lots more content coming soon. But that'll do it. Thank you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.